In today's Leeds news, agent backs Gelhardt for Premier League success. Lienou ready for now. Leeds blueprint for this summer. And alternate version of away shirt leaked. Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds View for Tuesday the 2nd of June with your Leeds United news. Hope your week is going really well so far. Interesting news today. We've got a major story coming out of The Athletic and Barron Cross's sources within the club giving us a very clear indication of what Leeds United's blueprint for this summer transfer will be, ins and outs and retained. And there's quite a lot of detail in this and we'll get to that about the middle part of today's video. There's a lot to get stuck into. Podcast didn't go out last night. Jerry was travelling back from his holidays. He is back today, so at 6 o'clock tonight we'll record. We'll have it out for about 7:30 tonight. Having a look at the predictions myself, Paul and Jerry had, and we'll have a look at the other predictions from the other content creators over the next couple of weeks once the lads are all available as well. We'll try and get a live stream on that one to have a bit of a laugh and a chat about it. So there you go. That's the basis for today. We'll crack on and get stuck into it, and we'll start off with the story around Joe Gelhardt. Joe Gelhardt, as we know, is the most likely player to leave Leeds United this summer. The player himself has indicated he wants to stay at Hull beyond the season he's just had. Leeds are open to a sale, and the ownership and manager of Hull City have been very public in stating their desire to bring him back to the club. But given the fact that he's moved from a Premier League side to a Championship side, there's the obvious question of does he have what they need now that they will be a Premier League next season? Now, according to former Premier League player, Hull City player and Irish international, now agent Stephen Hunt, he believes he has everything needed to be a success in the Premier League and has backed him to be exactly what Hull City need heading into next season. And speaking on Joe Gelhardt, Hunt said the following. Joe Gelhardt, I think, is a very, very good player. I think he can play in the Premier League. He never really had the opportunity. He had a flash with it with Leeds, and I think he's ready to play in the Premier League, and he can be effective. You look at players like Jared Bowen, who are left-footed right wingers who score goals in the Premier League, and you'd probably end up playing three along the top, 3-4-3, or whatever way you look at it. As I say, the whole manager and the CEO have both publicly stated they want Joe Gelhardt back next season. Gelhardt himself said he wants to go to the club permanently. This seems to be all lined up. The only thing they all need to agree, and Leeds need to agree with them, is a transfer fee. 21 G&A last season for Gelhardt as well will likely have increased his price a little bit, and there will be other interest, and there is expected more interest in Gelhardt this summer. So if Hull want to get it done, as soon as that embargo is lifted, they want to get moving on it. And it could be one that Leeds might just hold off a little bit on just to see if there are opportunities to bring in a few extra quid over the course of the summer. But that is the obvious one right now. Let's move on and talk about Jaden Leuu. So Leeds under 21 left back Jaden Leuu is enjoying his first call up to the Welsh senior national team. And he's had a fair amount of praise put on his shoulders over the last couple of days from his manager Craig Bellamy and from Leeds United winger Dan James. It's great to see, and Craig Bellamy has been lavishing praise on a player that he believes is ready for right now. And why hang around and wait? He didn't see the point in waiting until he was a senior international player, and he wants to get him into the side now and believes he's ready to make the next step. Lienou joined Leeds last summer from Manchester City. He was an ever-present in Manchester City's FA Cup youth winning side and under-18 team. He's come into Leeds. He's been an ever-present in Scott Gardner's under-21 side, and he has had a standout season. He even made the bench for Leeds United's final home game of the season against Brighton and Hove Albion. So he is seen as a prospect for Leeds United. He's quick, he's physical, and he doesn't seem to be overly bothered by the step up to senior national football. But Bellamy said the following when speaking about Jaden Leuu. There are one or two that are very, very young, like Jaden, for instance. I've watched him a lot at Leeds United's under-21s, and he's done very well in the younger setups for Wales. But he's definitely a player that we like. So when a space creeps up, why are we wasting time? Let's get him in. We believe this boy has got a real chance. Now, of course, there has to be other progressions in his game for him to be able to be a top player for Wales. But what we've seen already in his development, and that's from Leeds, not from us, we see a player with a really high potential that can have a huge impact in an area that's going to be really important for us. Now, Lienou is still a very young player. He's just 18 years of age. He has a lot of time. I'm not a massive person on pushing young players unless they're ready, but he does play on the left-hand side, and he has got a lot of similarities to how Gabby Goodmunson plays. And the fact that he's been around Leeds United's first team training camps this season as well means that Daniel Farke is having a good, close look at him and making sure that he is involved, and that you would at least imagine he'll go off on a pre-season tour with Leeds United so Farke and this squad can have a better, closer look at him, help with his progression as well. But as Craig Bellamy says, if he's ready, why waste time? And it is an area Leeds could potentially save some money going into this summer. Again, given that things might be a little bit tighter, they're expected to look for a left back. Maybe Lienou is one that they can bring up right now and have him compete for that left back spot. I would imagine it's probably still a little bit too early for him. We've seen Craig Bellamy call Charlie Crew up to the senior Welsh squad as well, and Charlie still needs a bit of development for himself as well. All very good young players, and as I say, there's a lot of similarities between how Jaden Leuu plays and how Gabby Goodmunson plays. So he's right now definitely a prospect and one to keep an eye on for Leeds. There's a lot of really good young players in that under-21 side this year, the likes of Alfie Creswell, the likes of Jake Howard, Rory Mahady, Ollie Pickles. There's plenty there to keep an eye on, and we'll be keeping track of them again next season once the season restarts over on our own 21 streams on bigup.com. Right, let's move on, talk about the major talking point of today, and that's the blueprint as Leeds look for an attack and overhaul. Baron Cross has got some very solid sources at Leeds United, and he writes for The Athletic, one of the most credible outlets that you can possibly get. So when he puts out a piece like this today, it's worth having a bit of a look at. And Leeds are believed, according to Cross and The Athletic, to be targeting a rebuild focused on the attacking areas this summer. But the talking point, he reckons, this summer will remain around Pascal Struijk's future. So according to Athletic, Baron Cross says that the club's decision makers have a clear vision for what this summer window will look like, but there are several moving parts, from contract expiries to potential departures, and that will shape just how ambitious Leeds United can be in the transfer market this summer. So according to Cross, these are the key areas we all should be keeping an eye on this summer. We'll start off with Parag Marate's message to the fans. He has been clear, measured on the rebuild, and he's spoken about 3 full Premier League seasons before Leeds can start to act and operate like an established Premier League team. So between now and then, they're going to have to get creative. On the transfer window stuff is an interesting look at this. Daniel Farke retains significant influence over the targets. Sporting director Adam Underwood leads the negotiations day to day, and head of recruitment Alex Davis is the one that is feeding players in to the shortlist for all of them to discuss. Final financial say and sign off on a player sits with Parag Marate. Daniel Farke has the final say on the players they want to look at pursuing. So, where is Leeds' money going to be spent this summer? Well, according to The Athletic and Baron Cross, the priority isn't the attacking third this summer. Leeds will specifically be looking for a number 10/playmaker. They're also keen on another number 9 and a right-footed left-sided player, with Harry Wilson being named as a player who is still an active live target at this moment in time, as he was last summer, and he is a free agent this summer as well. The club expect to spend more money on players coming in than they will receive on players coming out. But they don't expect to have the same volume of signings as last year when 10 players came in last summer. And to be fair, they really don't need to do that. The basis of the squad and the base of that squad is already done. They needed to do that last year. This year, it's about refinement and about adding quality in key areas for the side this summer and spending the money on players who can make a real difference to the squad next season and upweight the entire area of it. So what areas are being looked at for Leeds outside of those right now? Well, according to Cross, Leeds are looking for cover for Gabby Goodmunson at left back. They're also keen on the centre back, but they have now distanced themselves with a move for Danilo Doki. They've accepted he was a target, but they are no longer pursuing him, and he's labelled as no longer being a player of interest for the club. The goalkeeping situation is being looked at, but more so around a contractual position. Carl Darlow's future still needs to be sorted out, but Leeds have said to be happy with Lucas Perry's performances in the FA Cup last year. So you may see, if they can get Carl Darlow tied down to a new contract, the goalkeeping situation staying exactly as it is this summer. On the links to central midfielders, there's been a ton of central midfielders linked, and according to The Athletic, that's an area you can probably rule out Leeds making any moves in. The club are said to be very happy and satisfied with the options they've got in that midfield area. They're hoping to have a full season of Sean Longstaff under their belt. El Tanaka is then there. We'll get to Ilya Groove in a second because there's question marks on him. But you've Anton Stack there as well. So unless somebody leaves, I wouldn't expect anyone to come into that area of the park. On players that Leeds want to make sure they retain this summer, and there will be interest in them, Leeds want to retain Joe Rodon, Jakob Bial, Gabby Goodmunson, Ethan Ampadu, Anton Stack, DCL, and Noah Okafor. But they are expecting interest in those players, but they're likely to bat them away this summer. One of the big talking points is Pascal Struijk, and The Athletic are very clear on this. Leeds do not want to sell Pascal Struijk, and they want to tie him down to a new contract. But all of this will depend on what Struijk himself wants to do. If Struijk decides he doesn't want to extend his contract this summer, then Leeds will sell the player and cash in this summer, which again Makes perfect sense. If the player's not going to commit, you can't let him wind down his contract. You've got to bring in some money for a player, again, who represents a huge amount of SCR headroom for you. So there's that. On the exit side of things, this one's interesting. Leeds, according to Baron Cross, are expecting interest in Willie Gnonto this summer. So the noise around him seems to be validated now at this point. Joel Pirout, due to his lack of appearances, is expected to go, especially if Leeds are going to look at bringing in another striker this summer. And then you get to the players whose contracts are ticking down. And this one is really interesting. Brendan Aronson, Lucas Mecha, and Ilya Gruev all have 1 year left on their contracts. Their situation will fall into two brackets. One, if the club wants to extend their contracts and the players want to stay, then they will stay. If the club decide that they don't want to extend their contracts, these players could be sold this summer. Also, I suppose there's three brackets to this. The third one being, do the players themselves want to extend their deals at the club? And that's where you'll see whether they stay or they go this summer. It will come down to those factors. Joe Gelhardt is expected to leave. The club are expecting offers, not just one, multiple offers from clubs on Joe Gelhardt. And on the loanees that were away last season that are coming back this summer, Harrison, Ramazani, Vober and Schmidt are all labelled as not being part of Leeds United's plans, so expect the club to try and sell them or move them on again this summer. Leeds have distanced themselves from certain players already. We talked about Danilo Doki, no longer a target of Leeds United, so we can write him off our shortlist. And they've also distanced themselves from all of the links connected to Hidemasa and Marita, again in that central midfield area. So it is going to be a busy summer for Leeds. Not loads of new players coming in, but key players coming in key positions. Plenty of outgoings to try and bring in some cash and get rid of the, I don't like to say dead weight, but the players that are not being utilised by the Leeds United squad at management right now. Extensions, sales and contracts are likely to dominate the summer as well. It's a really interesting piece in the Athletic. If you haven't checked it out, go have a watch it, go have a read of it. Go have a watch of a written article. Go have a read of it and see what you think. But it is a very interesting piece that does line out what Leeds United summer could very much look like. We'll get into that in a lot more detail this week. Let's move on and talk about an alternate version of the away kit that's now come out. Leeds United's yellow away kit was leaked earlier this year, and plenty of people have already jumped the gun and gone off and purchased versions of it that are floating around on websites, but they might have just jumped a little bit too early on this one, because a new leak that's come out today, much closer to the expected release date that will be in July, appears to be far closer to the style that Leeds are going down this summer. A couple of weeks ago, a leaked training kit was put out by Footy Headlines, and that showed an embossed Yorkshire Rose pattern, and the pattern that's now on this version of the leaked shirt appears to be far closer to that one. What we've got on this shirt that's confirmed, we have the trefoil logo, the return of the Rose badge, which does have the AFC on it, which I didn't think it would have, considering the fact that Leeds copyrighted a version of that crest without the AFC on it, but it does appear on this leak to have the AFC. Red Bull logo is also in navy blue, and we've got the three stripes on both sleeves in navy blue with a V-neck collar with a hint of white on that as well. And the big part of this is the embossed pattern that is on the shirt is a more large-scale floral Yorkshire Rose pattern. What we saw leaked earlier this year was a repeated pattern of the crest that's on the shirt, and that doesn't appear to be what they're putting into the design. And again, if you look at the leaked training kit and you put them side by side, you do appear to seem a bit of a pattern emerging, not just on the shirt, but also in the style that they're going for as well. So, yep, interesting one. It's got to sell like hotcakes. It's a cracking looking shirt. The training gear is lovely. I really like the training gear. I'm too old for it. I definitely can't wear a t-shirt like that, but I do like the look of it. But you can let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comments. Back tonight with the podcast with the lads to have a look back at our predictions. So we will catch up with you later on. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.